When I animate a scene, as I animate, the drawings that I create are the final drawings. I'm not going to change them because everything is in my style, so that's fine. When somebody else is animating, they animate in their style. I'm not worried about the look of it as long as the animation works. And then I get all their animation back. I choose the key drawings, so it's very important that it's all indicated on the drawings what are keys and what are in-betweens. And then I do my version of the cleanup of the key drawings, which are then in-betweened by our cleanup artist, Marcia. This is an example of a scene that I've given to another animator. It's this is a storyboard frame. It's Colin with the pigeon, his pet pigeon on his shoulder, and he's hammering because he's making a pigeon coop. Because I was giving this to James, our animator here, I had to do layouts. So from absolutely directly from the storyboard frame, these are the layouts. So that's drawing number 1 with a hammer in the air. That's the final one with the hammer down. That's a sort of rough background so we know what he's leaning on. I'll show you the scene moving now. So this is the scene that I just showed you, and this is the first pass of animation. So we can see the drawings here like a dope sheet, and then we can retime it or whatever. But that's the first pass. So this is the final approved rough animation. There, so slightly different timing. The bird is there, and then you can see that the line is very much not my line, but it's very solid animation. And the animator who animated this is James.
Hello.
James is now working on another scene. So James, how do you approach it? So you've got your layouts that I've given you and instructions.
Yeah, first I would trace over those layouts with basic shapes, and then I'd look at what in-betweens could go in between the movement that would kind of add a bit of extra movement within the movement, and then I would go test it. And then in between, I suppose, and then there's always improving, changing things, changing the timing.
And so after the animation is approved and everything's fine, what do you do when I say, yep, that's great, James, now prepare it for cleanup? What would you do then?
Then I go and check if all of the keys are circled and all of the breakdowns are underlined, and make sure all the ladders are there just to see that the spacing is correct.
When I get his rough animation, it's all correct. I then do keys. Keys are circled there, so that's a key drawing. Then the halfway is underlined there, so I know what's the key in between and what's the key drawing. So when we go to do the cleanup, I choose the keys and do my version of his drawing. So that's the final look. And of course, he's on one layer, and then the bird on his shoulder is on another layer, just because they could have been drawn at the same time, but it was just easier to put them on another layer in case we wanted to change the timing. And it makes no difference really how many layers there are. So this is Marcia.
Hey.
Marcia, I was just showing you this scene, which you did the clean-up in-betweens on.
Oh yes, the one who's hammering, yes.
Yeah. So when you do the in-betweens, using James's animation and my cleanup keys, how do you approach it then?
I always check with Joanna what the approach is going to be. Sometimes I need to follow Joanna's keys and take James's as guides, because when Joanna does the cleanup, sometimes the shapes change just a little bit because she puts them back on model, or makes, I don't know, a hand a little bit bigger or things like that. So it's important that I follow Joanna's drawings and take James's as guide of what the movement is going to be.
So this is the same scene but cleaned up in my style.